creating a sense of home may look different for everyone, but if you're living abroad or traveling for long periods of time, you have the opportunity to decide what that looks like. I moved abroad on my own almost 3 years ago, and before that was living as a digital nomad and was moving around sometimes as often as every month. I had a lot of freedom and flexibility with my career, so I took full advantage. The experience has been great because I love feeling inspired by new surroundings, and I feel like I thrive in changing environments. And I think I've really learned to love the feeling of accomplishment that comes from overcoming challenges. But living abroad or traveling for long periods of time is not always easy, and it's normal to miss your loved ones and to miss some of the comforts of home. But I think as long as you're mindful about your approach, you can maintain a positive perspective and really make the most of your experience by seeing it as an opportunity. I've learned that one of the greatest benefits of starting fresh somewhere new is that you can decide what home looks like for you. Since I've done it personally a handful of times, I'm often asked how I stay grounded and how I stay connected and how I can still create a sense of home while traveling or living anywhere in the world. So I would love to share with you the tips that I follow and that have helped me personally over the years. I think the first step when it comes to staying in touch with your friends and family is to really recognize the types of interactions that make you feel closer and the types of interactions that can make you feel more distant. And this doesn't necessarily look the same for everyone. But for me, as an example, I think social media can be great for staying aware of what your friends may be up to, but I think it tends to be a little superficial and isn't always the strongest form of connection that you can rely on. And I say that because what you see on social media is never the full picture. Your friends may be sharing a few highlights here or there and may not necessarily be sharing what they're really going through in real life. So for me, I think beyond just browsing social media or sending quick messages or memes, I find it to be so much more meaningful to stay in touch with my close friends by calling or video calling, or even texting will make me feel closer to my friends than social media ever could. I think the key difference is that you're more engaged and you can communicate about real things, all of the highs and lows from either side, whatever it may be. But of course, it takes a little more effort to coordinate when to call, especially if there's a time difference. But if you and your loved ones can set a schedule for when to take the time to connect like this regularly, maybe every week or every few weeks, eventually you can make a habit out of it, and it can make any distance feel shorter. My next bit of advice has to do with making your space feel like yours and being really intentional about the objects you choose to surround yourself with. Something I remember doing, if I were staying long-term in a rental like an Airbnb, I would respectfully put away or minimize any type of personal decor that makes it feel like someone else's place. If you have the option, I think it's reasonable to move things like books that are on the coffee table that you would never read, or anything else that's a glaring reminder that it's not your home. For example, if there is a huge coffee maker on the counter and you're not a coffee drinker, then you can carefully move that into a closet or somewhere out of the way. And of course, before you check out, you would just put everything back in its place. And something else I do when traveling for long periods of time is to bring a candle that I love. I think scent is one of the most powerful ways to connect yourself with a feeling or even to connect yourself with another place. So you could find a candle with a scent that reminds you of home, or you could even choose a new one to start with. I suggest finding a candle that you could buy again and again so that you can continue to make it a tradition. I started doing this years ago with diptyque candles, and I would travel with them to kind of commemorate the destinations I was living in. And by creating this connection, I could then revisit these places later anytime I picked up the scent again. So if you start doing this with a scent while you're traveling, even if it's through multiple destinations, what you're doing is creating an element of consistency that feels familiar. And it's practical because it's portable and it's easy to travel with. And having a mindful practice like this can remind you to be centered and grounded. So another tip about decorating your space, and this might sound a little vain, but especially if you're traveling by yourself or you've moved abroad on your own, you should have a photo of yourself from a moment that you're proud of. Maybe it's a photo from your first solo travel experience, or from your graduation from a program that you worked really hard in. Or maybe it's a childhood photo of yourself that reflects the start of a dream that you're now following. If you're abroad on your own and you're feeling lost or lonely or feeling like things are difficult, having a photo of a proud moment of yourself can remind you how far you've come. or what you're capable of accomplishing. And that can give you a boost of confidence, or at least some reassurance that you're going to get through it and that you should continue to be proud of yourself. And to the point I had made earlier about recognizing the types of symbols that can make you feel closer versus the types of symbols that can make you feel distant, I think it's more helpful to have a photo of yourself from a moment where you feel proud as opposed to photos of people that you love. Because depending on your mindset or how you're feeling, which can fluctuate naturally, if you happen to be feeling lonely and then you glanced at a photo of someone that's important to you, it could have the opposite effect and make you feel longing or even more lonely. I think with anything in life, we can't control our feelings, but we can control our actions. And we can manage our expectations and be really honest with ourselves about what may make us feel better and what makes us feel worse. And like I said, this could look different for other people, but I'm just sharing what I have found to work well for me. So my next bit of advice has to do with designing your routine to make wherever you are feel like home. Whether you are working or studying or whatever led you to move or travel abroad, it's helpful to have a really balanced routine. If you're spending a lot of time indoors or at a desk, you should also be incorporating some exercise into your schedule. Making time to exercise has so many benefits. It lifts your mood, it adds structure to your day or your week. It helps you get more familiar with your surroundings, and it can also introduce you to others who share the same interests. If you become a member of a gym or a studio, it can encourage a sense of belonging to your city. Or even doing outdoor exercises like walking or running can inspire you to get more familiar with local parks or different neighborhoods, or anything else that you may want to revisit later. Even if you weren't regularly exercising in this way before, new beginnings are a great time to start new habits and also to discover new things about yourself. And I think the other side of that is to also remember to schedule time to rest. Living abroad or traveling extensively can be a stimulating experience, so remember to take time to check in with your stress levels and your feelings to avoid becoming burnt out. Finding balance and taking care of yourself and your mental health should always be a priority, regardless of where you are in the world. And when it comes to balance, as much as you may love discovering new things and being immersed in your surroundings, there's no shame in sometimes seeking out your favorite comfort foods that remind you of home. And there's no shame in using a VPN to stream your favorite series from back home either. I think as long as you're being present and being grateful for the experience, you'll start creating a new definition of home for yourself. And something else that I found to be helpful is to document your experiences and to find a creative outlet. Whether it's by writing in a journal or in your notes app or by snapping photos with your phone, compiling a record of your experiences can help you organize your thoughts and feelings during an especially transformative time in your life. The last piece of advice that I want to share is to remember that giving yourself the experience of venturing out of your comfort zone is something you will always be grateful for. And by keeping a record of these moments, whether they are big or small, or whether they are challenging or really joyful, you're giving your future self something to look back on and to be proud of, and to remember how far you've come. And it will always be a reminder that you can also overcome anything that you may have to face again in the future. Traveling and moving abroad have just opened my eyes and expanded my perspective in ways that I could have never even envisioned before. I'm so grateful for all of the lessons I've learned, and I hope that me sharing some of my experiences and learnings can help you as you navigate along your life's path. I've posted other videos about my experience as a solo traveler, but my channel is really about trying new things as an adult and exploring outside of your comfort zone and reminding you that it's never too late to get started. If that sounds like you, then don't forget to subscribe. Feel free to also leave a comment because I'm always happy to connect, and I will see you next time.